Punchboard Media,
where we all
bring something
to the table.
Pull up a chair
at punchboardmedia.com.
Hey everybody, your moderator Bruce here. I wanted to open up the show reminding you about our sponsor, Power to the Meeple, at powertothemeeple.com, a game store that's providing amazing prices, free shipping over $100, and is also helping shows like ourselves. Not only do they help the Spiel Foundation, they also support the Brawlin' Brothers, Cardboard Carnage, Blue Peg Pink Peg, and of course us here at the Party Gamecast. As a quick note, I was just looking over their website. They have in stock right now Suburbia, the super duper ridiculous collector's edition. And I can say, having seen this at PAX Unplugged, it is one of the most ridiculous boxes to a game I've ever seen. It's gigantic, it's filled with so much stuff and so many organizers, and if you at all remotely were interested in Suburbia and wanted to see it as just an over-the-top spectacle of a board game, I would say check that out. As we are recording, it is still available at Power to the Meeple at powertothemeeple.com. Once again, fantastic prices and just really nice folks that are helping out the community. We have not enough nice things to say about them, at least partially, because they support us. They're fine folks at powertothemeeple.com. Now, let's jump into the episode.
Party Gamecast will show you what to play, giving you ideas when you don't know what to do or say. Party Gamecast, it's all fun and games. We'll show you new ideas to play. Party Gamecast, having fun is easy when you know what games to play. Party Gamecast, we'll show you what to play, giving you ideas so you can party away.
Welcome to the Party Gamecast, featuring the Party Gamecast, a podcast about party games and games you take to parties. I'm your moderator, Bruce. Joining me in the show is Rocky.
That's me.
Mike.
That's not me.
Brian.
I'm not her.
Also an additional Brian.
Who am I?
Who are you?
I don't know. Who
Also
am I?
an additional Brian.
That is me.
Yes, I know. That's all I've got. That's yes.
That's my name.
That is it. That's your.
That's my legal name. All 4 words.
the whole thing. You say the whole thing. It's like a Tribe Called Quest.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Welcome everyone to the show. There's something strange in your neighborhood.
We're doing something strange every episode.
Yeah.
But this time especially strange for us. We are covering multiple video games.
Video games?
I know, video games.
Thanks for the rebrand, guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
We hope you appreciated that.
Yeah.
We happen to be real big fans here of the Jackbox series of games. We really like them. We play them at a lot of parties. Yes, I know we talk about party board games, but a lot of times we're with people that want to play kind of party video games where the screen does the work for you. And so we play those, and we really love those. And if you happen to be a member of our one of our patrons at patreon.com/partygamecast, you're going to have heard an episode where we talked about Jackbox.
Ooh.
I know. Ooh. If you want to hear our sweet, sweet Jackbox Party Pack 6 content, you can find that at patreon.com.
Which was totally going to be on this show until it got derailed.
Yeah.
Now it's in the past for you and in the future for us.
Indeed.
Or
So enjoy that
something.
content that we don't even know what it is. You know what it is before we do.
We have no clue because the way it's a timey-wimey thing.
It is. It's a
Are
little
we-
wibbly-wobbly.
Really?
Yeah, it
Yes.
is though. This time
I
it
mean,
really is
from
though.
Rocky, yes, but from
Yes.
you?
I know, but like
Okay.
it's appropriate.
I'm just
Yeah.
okay. You did wear a fez.
I have worn a fez.
Yeah.
It's a
Also-
thing. They're
also-
cool.
And bow
Wear
ties.
bow ties, yeah.
Yeah. So here was the whole idea that we had was that for one of these shows we thought the main show we were going to talk about Jackbox Party Pack 6. And then we thought, hey, we're doing Patreon content. Let's find some games that are kind of like Jackbox. And we'll talk about them there. And it'll be kind of a neat thing we can do at the same time and all sit in the living room and play video games together. And then we started to play the games and we were like, oh no. We're going to have to switch all of this. Because most of you that listen to this have probably heard of Jackbox Party Pack, but you have not heard about the things we are going to talk about today. Also, one more note as far as changes in programming go. Normally, at the end of the show, we do a live play, but we did video games this time, so we have a super awesome video game to talk about at the end.
Oh, goodness, yes.
Oh, my word.
It really is.
We are so happy about this.
That may have been the best couple hours of my day.
Yeah, we had an amazing experience where we thought we were going to spend 15 minutes on something and instead
Nope.
killed a whole day on it.
Yep.
Yeah, we
And
did.
totally fell in love.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. But between now and then, let's do the thing we usually do at this point. You know what it's time for, y'all?
Not
What's that?
what? Huh?
I think it's probably time for What the Food!
What the food?
What the food? What the Food sponsored this time by Bert's Barf Bungalow. You know why you're here.
Do we?
Yeah,
Huh.
you
Oof.
do.
Oof.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sign is on the door.
Yeah, like, you didn't drive by and see the neon sign and not get why we were all
I mean,
here.
I stop at any bungalow I can, but
Yeah, and that's exactly why you found yourself at Bert's Barf Bungalow. And you're the only person not here for the same reason everybody else is here. Sorry. So, we had some chips sent to us by one of our listeners. And once again, thank you so much, anybody out there where you find, like, cool, strange, weird food, and you're like, I need to tell them about it. Because we really appreciate that, because that's how we find some really neat things. So, Rocky, tell us about what we're going to be eating today.
All right. Well, they are both puffed corn snacks, actually, from the makers of Takis. I don't know if you've had those before. Watts. The first one is cheese shock. Yeah, with like
Yeah.
crackles all over the bag like lightning, and Watts is with a Z, and it seems real extreme.
And even the puffs are shaped like little lightning bolts.
Yeah. So I hope y'all are ready for this.
Yeah.
Are you ready for this?
Bum, 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 bum.
As a note, is there any kind of like flavor text in the back? Anything to note about? Maybe. What's the first ingredient?
Oh, corn grits.
With a Z?
Grits.
Just like Watts with a Z.
Yep.
now I have a question. Is there a
GRITZ.
difference between grits with an S and
I-
grits with a Z in terms of the ingredient?
Extreme.
I spent entirely too long Googling that before the show, and no. First off, Google will insist that you've just spelled grits wrong.
Now,
And once you assure it that you have not, in fact, you will find random companies that spell it one way and random companies that spell it another,
So-
and there's no anything.
so it's not like false advertising or something to be like a false ingredient name
I-
if it's grits with a Z.
I
If
think
it's not
it's-
extreme enough, then it's false advertising.
a lot of
Okay.
sites that talk about maize will talk about grits with a Z,
Okay.
and one like Maize.
Is this
Okay.
like chicken wings with a Z, which is just supposed to just like processed meat smashed into a nugget?
Oof.
I mean, chicken, those are different. Like corn grits and corn grits are just ground up corn. That's really, I mean, they're both the same thing basically. I spent I wanted to have a clever answer, and
Yeah.
I did not.
There is
There's-
no clever.
There is no clever answer to be found.
You have failed me.
If listeners know of one, please let us know. I will be very amused if there is actually a reason.
There is one line of flavor text on the back.
Oh, by all means.
Shock things up.
It sounds like a wrestling
yeah.
tagline.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Seems like
Here I am. You better watch yourself, brother.
Remember how great the
Oh.
Shockmaster was?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
Oh
I
God.
have no idea.
These are gonna be
He
just like
certainly
that.
shocked
Wow.
things up.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
So I opened the bag and,
Got a suit
like a
full of
fool,
something.
I stuck my nose in the bag.
Was it
So-
shocking?
You know what nacho cheese smells like?
I do.
I'm familiar.
This. A lot of this.
Did,
Nice.
did, it,
Awesome.
did it shock things
So
up
is it
for you,
actually?
though?
Did it actually shock things up?
It shocked my nose.
Oh my word!
They look like crinkle cut fries.
That
Yeah,
is
but
a
like-
color of orange that
It's a
even
crinkle
Cheetos
cut. It's a
can't
crinkle
achieve.
cut Cheeto.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I agree with
It's-
Brian. That's what grabbed me was just how
It's
orange.
orange.
Yeah, it's more
Girl.
orange than
Girl,
Chester.
why are you so orange, girl?
Look how orange you look.
Oh yeah, that does just smell like you opened a can of nacho cheese.
Yeah.
like a can.
Yeah. Yeah, this is
The
definitely
kind that
processed nacho cheese, but
comes
it
in-
is like
Oh
actual
my
nacho
God.
cheese smell.
Yeah.
I can smell the can.
Yeah, it really like the giant can.
Oh, we're eating it. All right.
Yeah.
That's what we do on this show.
Oh my word, that's wonderful.
All that is just like you dipped a cheesy poof in nacho cheese.
That's not wonderful.
That
what
is
are you doing?
awful.
You're crazy.
What is
Oh,
wrong
No,
with
it's
you?
horrible.
I enjoy it
I
very
will
much.
eat
I'm
all
gonna
of them.
Try another one for posterity, but
I'll do the same, but I'd much rather have a Cheeto.
I'm
going to
need about 7
No.
for posterity.
Exactly. I'm gonna need about the other half of that bag for posterity.
I'll fight you for them.
texture's weirder than a Cheeto. It's like more styrofoamy, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a little firmer than like the soft Cheetos, but not like
Yeah.
the hard
Yeah,
crunchy
it's,
Cheetos.
it's between the crunchy and the puff Cheetos.
That's what the
Yeah.
Z is for, I guess.
Yeah.
This very much reminds me of like those Planters balls, those cheese balls. but it's a
Yeah.
lightning bolt made of cheese
The
ball.
one that comes in the giant like tub.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
one that comes
I
in
like those,
like
though.
the gigantic tennis ball can.
Yeah, those are definitely a little tougher than the like puffs, the curly puffs,
Yeah.
but not as hard as the like
This
regular
does
Cheetos.
not have a great aftertaste either.
You
No.
could
No,
not be
the
more wrong.
aftertaste is not fantastic.
You have never been more wrong about anything in your life than
Feel like
that this
that's
aftertaste is
unlikely.
bad.
Here's the good news.
That
You've
is
decided
delightful.
to take the moment to be the most wrong you've ever been about
Yeah.
this cheese snack. And that's not bad. That's not a bad batting
Nope.
average for life.
I mean, that is if that's the hill you choose to die on,
Yeah.
sir, then more
I don't
power
know.
to you.
I don't know, man. I think 3 people said the aftertaste was bad and 2 didn't.
well, you
so-
know what? Let's find out. So, Watts, now, what's the actual technical flavor on these? These are just nacho cheese flavored?
Cheese shock.
Cheese
Yeah.
shock. Would you take them to a party, Rock?
No.
Mike?
Probably not. No.
Brian?
They wouldn't make it to the party. I'd need like 9 bags
I know, right?
so that other people would have at least 4 puffs.
This guy
They're
gets it.
so like this is just like dipping a spoon into a can of nacho cheese, but in puff form,
Yes!
which
Also-
is delightful.
Which is wonderful. Also, in addition, O'Brien,
No, these suck.
you suck.
Yeah,
These are wonderful.
Wow.
You suck.
this is why new things aren't like new Brians sometimes aren't needed or wanted.
I'm not saying
'Cause
New Brian
they're
is
just-
neither one. No.
No,
we're
right
open
now.
to all
Wow.
opinions,
I'm
even
just
when
saying,
they're
no,
wrong.
This is some,
No,
this
No,
is
I
some-
can't.
personally attacked him
is
for his
some-
opinions.
He's-
No.
you're
hate
trying to
crime against the letter
usurp
I,
me.
isn't it?
You're trying to
That's what it
usurp me
is.
with your. There's no I in Brian.
So I would definitely take these to a party if they somehow made it there. Now, with these Watts
Yes.
came a second bag of Watts. Now, Rocky, please
Yes.
paint a picture for everyone as to what's going on here.
All right, so the bag is purple. It has the same images of the little squiggly corn things. They are now red. They are now on fire. They are fuego flavored. And there is a sticky note attached that says, "These are hot!" with 2 exclamation points. The bag proclaims it to be cheese, hot chili pepper, and lime flavored.
I am so excited for this. Although I'm nervous because this means the person who sent them to us found a sticky note, felt the need to write
Yeah.
it, and make sure that we were well protected from whatever's going on with the Watts.
Well,
Maybe he heard me on a previous show and how terrible I am with spice, and he just wanted to warn me.
And that is a thing to note as we try these, is that also an additional Brian is notoriously bad with spice. Like it's just not a thing. Like,
But I'm taking one for the team, so it's okay.
so I'm
My
excited.
reaction might be funnier for the audience at home than
And your reaction might
anybody
be,
You don't like nacho cheese. You don't like spice. What do you bring to the table,
Ooh.
Mr.
Oh,
Imposter
ooh.
Brian? That's
Wow.
it. It's happening on this episode.
Wow.
It's going down.
We don't.
Brings
Rocky,
an
open. What's going on here?
Oh, all right. I'm sorry, because you don't call something fuego and it not be spicy, so I'm a little nervous.
Fuego means hot.
Indeed. Yeah, that's
Actually,
exactly
it
what
means
that
fire.
means.
That's
but,
what
you
that
know.
means.
En español.
I took
Wow.
German in high
Wow.
school.
Yeah, I was about
Whoa.
to say.
And Latin.
Oh my God! I can just see the reflection of the color in the silver of the
glowing.
inside of the bag.
The
Yeah,
color
it's
of
It's
these-
glowing.
It
the
looks
color
like someone,
of these is highly impressive.
Yeah, it looks like there's a red light inside the bag shining out upon you.
Yeah, you've got like Marcellus Wallace's soul in there. Oh my word!
That's a little. Whoa.
Have you seen
Oh my
Grenadine?
God.
Jeez.
Those
There you
are
go.
definitely just like the other ones were some shade of orange that's never been made before. This is red with a little bit of orange that.
My
Oh my
brain wants
word.
these to be cherry flavored.
Yeah, they're almost maraschino red.
My brain wants those to be chicken wings.
I just want to know
Are they-
what red they're using in this to make them this red.
Red number 666.
Red 40 Lake.
Because the Watts cheese, the cheese shock has red 40, but also yellow 5 and yellow 6 in it.
This has red 40 Lake and red 40 and yellow 5 and yellow 6 and yellow 6 Lake.
Bingo.
It's the lake that makes the difference, man.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. They
It
smell,
means they put a lake of that stuff on there.
They don't smell like
limey.
they don't smell like chili powder. They smell like powdered chilies. If that
Yeah.
distinction makes a difference.
Yeah.
Like they kind of like ancho or Chipotle thing going on.
No, that is absolutely. I 100% agree with Brian. They do smell like powdered chilies.
Yeah, not chili
powder.
powder, but chili with an E.
Ladies and gentlemen, good luck.
Thank you.
Let's.
Are these out of date? They're kind of chewy.
Not
There's
supposed to
something wrong?
breathe them.
Are they hot?
I
definitely
don't
get
even
the
know if they're
lime.
hot. It just caught me weird.
There is a lime. Is
Oh!
there supposed to be lime?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's definitely lime in this.
There's
Yeah.
lime.
Oh,
That is
Oh,
weirdly
Oh.
tart.
it's
that
spicier
is
at the end.
strangely tart.
The tart, the sourness hits you first.
Yeah.
Like even before the spice does, and then the burn sort of kicks in later, but it's not a huge burn.
Yeah, the burn is in the aftertaste.
Yeah, it's
or tingle.
Yeah, there's definitely a tingle in the aftertaste. And at first, I think when I breathed in, when I had it in my mouth, I just kind of breathed some of the powder in, so that's what got me at the beginning.
You don't want to do that.
You don't want to breathe chili dust.
I mean, you don't want to breathe dust in general. That'll just make you cough. Can we more with the purple?
Yeah, here, you can get some more of the purple your way. I just didn't know what to do. At the point, also an additional Brian who can stand no spice was like, let me get another one of those.
Yeah.
Oh, the cat has heard crunchy food, and he has emerged.
You know, it's...
Hi, guys!
The heat does hit you a little bit at the end, but, like...
It's really not oppressive.
Such a weird
It is
flavor,
that.
though.
It is that
It's
sour. It's actually real. Oh my
it's the
god!
Lime
It
that's
is
the
way
really hard to
front-loaded on the
take
sour.
flavor. Do they have an expiration date? Because these are chewy. I mean, there's a spot where it should be, but I don't see it.
I
Also,
don't think
they're-
that's necessarily
they're made by Bimbo.
It says guaranteed fresh until printed date. Where's the printed date?
There's a spot on
Never
the front where it
fresh.
should be.
Best before and nothing labeled next to
Best
it.
before
So
never.
it's
So
always
it's never
always
best.
good.
Well, these
It's-
both came to us at
It's
the same
always
time,
okay.
and
Never best.
This other one expires this month. It
As
doesn't
a
give a
note-
day, just a month.
both of these came at the same time, and they came relatively recently. So there's no reason to believe that these are, even if they were stale more than like a week or two.
Yeah.
That
yeah, I
heat
mean, this
really lingers, though.
It does really linger, but it's what's getting me in the front is the sour. And I'm a person that eats like a lot of sour candies. I like them. And that sour was like folding my face inside out.
the nacho cheese does help if you want to lessen the spice. But yeah, it's the sour. The latte is aggressively lime. It's like chewing on a lime rind.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah.
I didn't expect
Yeah,
that from a
the
snack.
fact that these say cheese, hot chili pepper, and lime, it's a little disingenuous because it's like lime forward with chili pepper later.
You need to
Oh,
reverse
definitely.
the order.
Yeah.
Those are from least flavor to most is how they're listed, I think.
Potentially, yeah.
Cheese is barely there. The
No.
chili's pretty there, and the lime is woo.
Like, I don't really get much cheese at all, but it's
No.
it's definitely like
It's lime as heck.
80% lime and like 20% chili that changes a little bit over time.
God, Zeus.
Oh.
So let's check. Are you taking him to a party, Mike?
I might, just because it's kind of weird and you wouldn't expect it. I wouldn't get
Yeah.
a huge bag of them, but I'd take some.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there, Brian.
Yeah, I would. Weirdly, I expected to like. I love spicy. I thought
Yeah.
I'd like them more than the nacho cheese, and I don't. I still like them, and they're safe enough to take to a party because the other Brian can eat them, and he doesn't like spicy at all. So I would feel fine like bringing hot stuff to other people.
Yeah. Also, an additional Brian.
Yeah, like I would probably bring these. I'm not, the flaming hot Cheetos and all that stuff. I'm not really hugely big onto those. This is a similar type of thing, but it's so lime forward, which brings me to another point. There's a third flavor of Watts on the back of all these bags in
Okay.
a green bag, and it's called Lime Tornado.
Oh my word!
Now-
A
So
lime-nado.
This one
Compared-
has lime as its third ingredient, and that one is lime first in the name. I want to know how lime those are, and we should get a cut of some of
There's
those later.
green lightning on the bag.
I can't even imagine how bad a lime-nado must be, because this might be one of the most sour things I've ever eaten.
Yeah, and
I
I'm not a
mean-
huge sour person either, so
Yeah.
it's just a weird flavor combination. I'd still bring them though. I think that they're unique enough that people will be like, "Yeah, that's pretty good," and then
It's not as
have
sour.
it once,
It's not as sour as a saltadito.
Oh, that is absolutely true. It is not as sour as a saltadito.
And I think those were they pickle or lime flavored?
They
were
were I
green.
want to say they were pickle.
They were green flavored.
Yeah, they were pickle, and then I cannot remember what the other one was, because I had one at BGG Spring that was also real bad, and it was like a brown flavor, a brown color.
Brown flavor.
It was a
huh?
brown flavor. How about you, Rocky? Taking these to a party?
No. They're no. They're too limey. I can't sour or tart and too much lime. It's too much.
Yeah, those are intense. You have a coworker that really likes sour.
I do. I'm not sure if these would count as sour per se.
I don't know. Then I don't know what would if these don't.
Also, she can't spicy. So
Okay,
So-
then
Yeah.
there is a little bit of spicy to it.
I googled these chips,
Yes.
and the third YouTube video that comes up when you Google Watts is one entitled "Worst Chip Ever: Watts Lime Tornado."
Oh no.
I'm very sad we didn't have Watts Lime Tornado as well to
Yeah.
compare.
Here's what I can say. I'm sure we can make a Watts Lime Tornado happen for potentially our January episode.
Maybe it means that the person that sends these to us likes us and didn't send us those.
That actually could be what
Yeah.
it is.
If that's the case, thank you, kind sir or
Indeed.
madam.
Indeed, thank you so much. Yeah, no, these are sour in a way that I find not at all pleasant or fun. I would not take them to a party for exactly that reason, but not the spicy. But I do understand if I were to give these to somebody else, spicy is how I might warn them.
Yeah.
Because I definitely would feel a need to warn them about that package.
But like for something else that people probably know kind of well, hot fries. They're not as spicy as those. Like,
yeah.
They're maybe half as spicy as like the hot fries.
Yeah, they're not as spicy, but they are significantly less pleasant.
Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah.
Hot fries are delicious. These are okay.
Yeah. Oh, my word.
I'm also trying to look and see if there's even lime on this ingredient list.
Probably natural flavors or something.
Let's see. Natural and artificial flavors.
Yep.
Yeah, but there's literally nothing that says lime at all on this ingredient list. So,
is there anything that says tornado? Is tornado on the ingredient list?
But you got, your salt, your MSG, your maltodextrin, and your natural and artificial flavors (parentheses milk).
Huh. Can't even imagine what milk had to do with this terrible thing.
Soured milk.
That's for the cheese.
Oh, I didn't even think. Of course it is.
Yeah,
the first flavor.
Of course it is.
But I don't get why if you call something lime. I mean, it does say artificially flavored puffed corn snack, but I don't get why you wouldn't put lime as one of the ingredients unless it's completely fake.
Yeah, unless you've done stuff to make that sour thing happen that isn't exactly lime.
Because if this actually was lime, I don't think it would be this bad.
I have to agree with you. It is an intense snack, I can say that.
There's citric acid in it, which comes from lime sometimes.
Potentially, yeah.
And there's probably too much citric acid, I would say.
Well, I think there's citric acid in the cheese ones, too. I think it's just to make the puff.
Well, either way, gosh darn it, that has sure been a thing.
Yep.
And we will be back in just a moment to talk about all of the video games that we have played. There's so many of them, and then there's the one at the end, and I'm real excited about that. We'll be back in just a moment.
Hey everybody, Bruce here to thank another sponsor of the show, Listeners Like You. Listeners like you support us at patreon.com/partygamecast. Thanks to all of our Patreon support, we've been able to get new microphones, get a new mixer, change the visual look of the show. Soon enough, we'll even have a new website up. It helps us get new games, helps us get new food, helps us do all kinds of things, and we thank you so much. If you support us at $10 or more, we say your name right here on the show, so I specifically want to thank these Patreon supporters: Brian Ganninger, Daryl Hutchins, Jerry Reese, McKinley Sayre, Mike Cooper, Stephen Quaid, and our friends at Power to the Meeple at powertothemeeple.com. If you're not able to help us financially, we completely understand. You can help us by telling people about the show on social media. Follow our social media on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Go on whatever your preferred podcast service is and give us a rating on there. We would certainly love to see that. Specifically, we hear that Apple Podcasts, there is a lot of help to get podcasts more attention. So if you can do that, we would certainly appreciate it. And once again, we thank you so much for your support month in and month out. We love doing this, and we love knowing that you care about the stuff that we're making. So let's get back to the show.
And welcome back. It is now time for us to get into the part of the show where we start talking about games, but you would think, hey, you're a board game podcast.
Hey,
Are we?
Yeah,
It's a party game
party
podcast,
game
or
pod
games you
podcast.
take to parties.
Yes, and that is definitely what we're talking about today.
Not really. This isn't a game you take to a party.
well,
I would
And
say
it's
some of
definitely
the,
not a board game.
so I would say some of the you'd have to take your computer to the party.
games you can
Or
launch
your-
at parties.
You can
Yeah.
take your password and just load it to someone else's smart TV. And
I suppose
Then
you
they
could
can-
do that, or maybe you have the whole thing saved on a drive somewhere.
on Steam,
Is that a
So
thing?
maybe you stole it off of Steam. Maybe you got it down from Steam.
I don't think you can do that.
Maybe you
That's
figured
why
out a way.
I don't advocate stealing DRM
no,
coded
no.
Yeah, that's-
no.
games from Steam.
Don't steal. Stealing's
That's-
bad.
Stealing
Wrong.
is bad.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust a stolen game. It would be full of viruses.
It would most likely just
Download this .exe that definitely was obtained by a pirate and just run it on your computer.
Yar.
Yeah.
So here's what we're going to know. All the games that we have played today, we played through Steam. I do know some of these are available on Switch. I'm sure some of them are available on other consoles, but we're just going to talk about, we played a Steam version. We just hooked a computer to the TV and played with that. But just letting you know, they may be available in different places. We know they're all available on Steam, okay? So we began with looking at Jackbox games, and we liked those, and we wanted to find other games that were similar, and this is what we found. The first of the three games that we're going to talk about is a game called Awkward. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's It lives up to its name sometimes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let's pick a Brian. Any Brian, tell us about Awkward.
Eeny, meeny, miny, me.
Okay, that works.
Basically, Awkward is sort of a chooser, but I don't know. It's everybody signs in with their name, and we played the matchup version. I think there's a team version too that we had an odd number of people, so we didn't do that one.
We did not do the Newlywed Game version.
Yeah,
Okay.
we randomly picked matchup because it was our first time when we played 4, and then when we played 5, you don't have a matchup option with an odd number of players.
There you go.
So anyway, everyone enters their name, and then it pairs you up randomly and asks one of you a question about yourself, and then the other person has to not look at the screen while you answer, and then once you've answered, the other person looks at the screen and has to guess which of the 2 choices you picked. And it could be something like, trying to remember what some of them were.
It was, would you rather swim at a beach or swim in a pool?
Yes. Yeah, and you had to pick beach or pool, and then the other person had to guess if you picked beach or pool. And if you are the guesser, you get credit for getting the guess right. And if you are the person who answered, if you're guessed right, you get credit.
Yeah.
So everyone plays twice, then the round ends, adds up your score. And first round you can either 50 or 100 or 0. And then the next round goes the same. Everyone plays twice. And then third round, everyone plays twice. And then you have, whoever got the most correct guesses and were guessed the most correctly wins. It's very simple.
Yeah, it's definitely very much a party game.
You made it sound like so much more than it actually was.
Well, yeah, it picks 2 people at random. One of them answers a question about themselves. The other guesses the answer. And then it kind of has a scoring mechanism.
Yeah, and then what we'll do is let's just run through this. I'm just going to run through it completely verbally so people understand very clearly exactly what we're talking about. So the question would be, it would say, hey, Rocky and Mike. And then a prompt would come on the screen and would say, hey, Rocky, close your eyes while Mike answers this question.
Okay.
And then
something.
Mike would get the question, and on the screen it would say, hey, Mike, have you ever lost or had stolen a cell phone? And it would say yes or no. And then Mike would silently pick which had happened. And then Mike would do that. We're not doing anything silently, Mike. So just say your answer. This is what you would have clicked.
No.
So then you would say, okay, I'm done. And it would say, hey, Rocky, open your eyes. But it wouldn't say that. The room would have to say, hey, Rocky, the screen says, open your eyes. Rocky would open her eyes, and the exact same screen would come up, and it would say, hey, Mike just answered this question. Has Mike ever lost a cell phone in his life? And Rocky would look at it and say either yes or no.
I would have said no.
And there you go. Then it would say, hey, either you matched or no, you didn't match. And then with that comes, like, the game's mascot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The graphics were pretty
Weird.
It was
interesting.
trying to be cute. It was like kind of, I would describe it as like sometimes like Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where there's like cutouts
Very
of
much
classical
so, very
paintings.
Clip art kind of.
Yeah, sort of cut out clip art sort of thing, because the mascot is Charles Darwin, but with his eyes punched out, like with a hole puncher, and they dress him in weird costumes. So like he was a leprechaun, he was a beefeater. I forget what other random things.
I can't even remember the other stuff
He also, I think, makes a happy noise when you get it right, and then
Yes.
groans very audibly when you get the answer wrong.
Yeah, that's true. And he pops out in a little costume and makes an approving or disapproving noise. And then at the end, it scrolls a bunch of classical artwork and has the 2 fingers almost touching, like in the Sistine Chapel for reasons.
And then what's weird is round per round, the first round, it's like the hand to the wrist.
Yeah.
And then the next time you can see the joint at the elbow, which is like a pop rivet.
Yeah,
it's
like
holding the elbow together like a paper doll.
Yeah, like a brad you would put on a paper marionette thing. A skeleton for Halloween on the door.
Doesn't even really say like, well, so-and-so won. It just has the percentage of times that they match.
I think it was similarity percentage or something like that.
And that's it. It's not like, hey, so-and-so won. It's like, oh, well, this is 100, this is 64.
Yeah, I mean, the scoring it's very simple, but it is, if you guess correctly, you get a point. If you're guessed correctly, you get a point. If you don't do those things, then you don't get a point.
After every round, too, they had like around the world, this is how people voted, and they show 2 halves of a pie chart coming up, and it would be like 54% of people have lost their phone, 46 people haven't. And it would just kind of just show you, like, are you in the majority or the minority at that point?
Yeah. So it's simple, but there's a little bit extra touches here and there.
It feels like just a construct for them to collect data. And that's it. Like, there's not much game. It's all very flimsy of just please answer these survey questions, except once in a while the questions are, weirdly dark.
So,
so off the rails.
I was excited to get to that.
I had a question. Do we want to? Is that the one we want to go with?
So here's what I want to do, because I want to make sure that everybody has the same experience that we had. So what I'm going to do is, Brian, are you going to give me the really awful one?
The super dark one?
The super dark one?
Yeah,
so here's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to just do 4 questions that just feel like they would have been in the game. Okay. I don't remember whether they were or not, but they're going to feel absolutely like questions that were in the game.
Now, to be fair, at the beginning, there was a whole bunch of lore text about how they found this ancient game, it's been played for centuries, and it's destroyed relationships and friendships, and 99% of the questions don't fit that. However.
Yeah, and it says, and some of the things are going to be so awkward, it might break up friendship, ship. So, it warns you at the beginning. But it's like, hey, boxers or briefs? Have you ever lost your cell phone? Coke or Pepsi? Would you swim at the beach or swim in a pool?
Would you rather die alone in agony or with your loved ones?
Yeah. Would you rather die in agony alone or die in agony with your loved ones?
This one was a Brian versus Brian one.
Yeah,
this was all Brian.
Yeah, it took us a minute before I was capable of answering.
I had my eyes closed, and the reaction was very interesting. It was like, oh, what could this possibly... Oh.
I think I apologized before I told him, sorry, you got to figure this out.
And some of the awkward ones are kind of like sex awkward things where it's how do they feel about prostitutes? And you're like, okay, well, I mean, that's awkward, but in kind of like a cheeky awkward. But then some of them are like, face your own mortality.
I know you had one that's like, what would you rather change about yourself? Your hair or your chest?
And that's one of them. I think that even the achievement system was like, you've answered an awkward question.
Hey, is the other person arrogant or ignorant?
Oh yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. That one got asked of me.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sometimes it'll ask you a question about someone else occasionally. It did that a lot with you two, with Bruce and Rocky, which worked because they're a couple, so some of those were safer answers.
Spoilers. Yeah, there was one that Mike was asked, which was like, do you feel like your childhood has been better or worse than the majority of the world?
It was the two of us, and I saw it. And Mike, so I have my eyes closed. Mike answers, and he goes, oh, okay. And answers. I open up and I look, and I'm like, okay. So what I have to figure out here is Mike going to believe that I'm using my perspective where I live in the world and the people that I know? Or does Mike believe I'm going to look at the perspective of the entire world as a whole?
Meanwhile, when I'm answering the question, I'm like, all right, do I answer this question as if I'm me and I'm, this relatively privileged guy who's lived in the United States all of his life, or as a member of the entire world where, wow, that's a little bit more of a different perspective on the question.
It certainly is, and that's what you have to figure out, because there's no additional talking past that. It's, what do I think Mike is going to do? And I, fortunately, was like, I think Mike's a world citizen. I'm going to say, yes, my life is better than most of the world. And bing, 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 I happen to be right.
And literally, just to talk about this whole thing, that's all this game is. It's just text. Yeah. It's you click on one, click on the other. There's the only audio is maybe some music and Charles Darwin going, oh! That's
silence
really it
from the room.
Some clip art, and it's like those kind of weird, slightly darker, awkward, like the actual awkward questions.
Yeah,
I think there were 3 per game, and with us, we went through 30 questions because of the number of people. So it wasn't a lot. It was like maybe one around was an actual question. Otherwise, it was like, "What's your favorite color?" And then I give you 2 colors.
Yeah,
is that level of levity?
Yeah, like one of them literally was, which color would you rather paint a bedroom in your house, red or purple?
Yes.
So, I mean, these are the questions you get with the occasional, when you die in agony, as we all do.
Yeah. Just assume that you will die in agony. Would you rather do it in front of people who love you and have to watch you in agony? Or would you rather do it alone and die friendless and also in agony? Which of those 2 horrible situations seems slightly less awful?
Awkward.
That's an agonizing decision to make it.
Hey, everybody, question for you. Was Thanos right or was Thanos correct?
Oh, wow.
Hey, everybody, how do we feel about this?
Was Thanos right in Endgame or just in Infinity War?
Spoilers.
Sorry.
So, like, yeah. So, let's talk, like, how did you feel about this as a thing to do? I guess this is really going to be, would you take it to a party, and also, how do you feel about this as a game? Like, we know Jackbox is out there, and we're already going to pretend that, like, you and your particular group are kind of Jackboxed out, and you are looking for an alternate thing. How do you feel about this? Like, was this an enjoyable activity? Is this a thing you'd want to do? Are we ever going to pull this out again?
If you enjoy spending your free time filling out opinion research surveys for 50 cents a piece, then, yeah, by all means, play this so-called game. But this is, I would call this not a game. It is a thinly veiled data collection device under the guise of a game to get you to play it.
It does sort of have that, like, it should be embedded in Facebook kind of feel.
Yes, this is miserable. Like, when it's over, it just ends. It's not even like, so-and-so has won! Hooray, victory! It's just over.
It never tells you anybody wins. It says,
No.
here's your score.
Yeah, there's a round recap, and then when the third round recap ends, it just doesn't let you keep playing.
Do you want to do it again?
Do you wanna
No!
start
Oh,
over?
God, no!
I didn't even think about that.
No, Cambridge Analytica. We don't want to do this again.
I didn't think about how thinly veiled the gamification is, because you're right, there aren't even like, and in round 2, the points double. It's more like 100%, 50%, 63%.
But now I wonder even more about the weirdly dark questions, because who wants to know whether I'd rather die in agony alone or in front of my loved ones, and what are they doing with that information?
Oh my goodness.
That's not your problem. Don't listen.
It's
don't
going
ask
to
that
be
question.
my problem,
Don't ask. No,
and
that's
possibly my friend's problem.
Don't ask questions you don't want the answer to.
I
You
feel
can't
like I
afford to
need
buy
to
that
know
data
the
set.
answer.
So
Is this
Rob,
just Skynet
Yes.
making plans for the future, or what's happening?
quite possibly. Clearly, they want to die alone. We can arrange that. H-A.
No, in that case, it would be gather his loved ones.
So, Rocky, would you take it to a party?
I'm done. 20 minutes later. No.
No, okay. So, Mike, you've heard the conversation we're having here.
no, I've missed the entire thing. Could you recap it?
Like, how did you feel about it being an experience to have, about, like, how it was, kind of, how it felt as a game, how it felt as one of these kind of, like, digital game show things? Like, how does this all feel? And then, additionally, would you take it to a party?
So the weird thing is, it's like a mashup of 3 different things that we've all experienced before. When I say we all, I mean
Loss, regret.
No. That
Agony.
too, but 3 different kinds of game experiences that we, as us in the cast, have experienced before. There's the Jackbox kind of, you're all sitting around and playing this video game kind of thing that engages you and makes you sort of socialize.
Yeah.
So there's that part of it. There's the newlywed game.
Yep.
Which is, hey, your partner answered this. Let's see how close you got.
In the back of a Volkswagen.
Yeah. And then there is this game that we reviewed on this show a bajillion years ago. I don't know. I think we reviewed it. This weird game that we got sent to us, if I recall correctly, that was written on like these long sticks.
Oh,
where you
my
pulled
goodness.
them out on at a party.
That was
And you just answered questions. And some of them, the whole game was just pass this thing around and answer questions. Whatever you pull out, that's the question you have to answer.
It was that icebreaker game.
Yes, it was an icebreaker game.
I don't remember the exact name, but for those of you that are looking for it, I can tell you it's in the Match games. When Match.com did a series of game nights,
Yes.
it was in those. I just don't remember exactly what it was called. I don't even know if it ever got like a real release. Essentially, what went to all these Match.com events were like glorified prototypes. Like they were going to be made, but they weren't quite 100% there yet.
Yes, they just made like a couple versions and play
Yeah.
tested them and then didn't bother producing them.
Yeah, I don't know if they actually made them or not. I would imagine they probably did because they were pretty far along. But I remember what you were talking about, Mike, because a lot of it was like Coke or Pepsi, and then it would be something like,
Yes.
are you ever going to have children? And you're like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to cover this Match.com. We just met.
There it is. Rocky has
Yeah.
found the tube of sticks.
I knew I'd
Yeah.
seen it.
Lives on our bar downstairs. It's from Wiggity Bang. It is Open Up.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Open up.
I know
So,
I've asked about
Wiggity
this
Bang?
before. I was not.
I
around
don't
when
even
you
know that
played
Wiggity
it.
Bang is still a company anymore.
Oh.
Like, and they very well may be. If you're out there, Wiggity Bang, and you're a company, I'm sorry to have not remembered. But yeah, the sticks of doom. So Rocky is pulling out a stick right now.
Which person in the room has a name that most suits them?
so that's like,
That's
it's
fun.
Whatever.
Lighthearted and
Wiggity
Like,
Bang does still
icebreaker.
exist.
Nice. Did they ever actually make? Oh, what is this? Open Up?
Yes.
They did, it looks like.
Okay.
Yeah. They're all rated by stars about how personal they are. So this one is 2 stars. Have you ever hit someone?
Wow.
Ta-da!
With what?
It could be like a chuck on the shoulder and stuff like that. That's fine.
Or it could be I played ice hockey for 7 years.
Only when
yeah, I hit
asked-
lots of people.
Yeah.
It was
Only
my
when-
job.
And one time cut a dude with a skate.
All right, let me find a 3-star. Hold on.
Oh, yeah, I
Huh.
remember when we were going through these.
Have you ever accidentally sent an explicit text or email to the wrong person?
Every day of my life.
Now, I would say
Oh.
when this game came out, that was a lot more risque question than it is now.
Yeah,
Because
this
now I feel like
is
if you
Because it was
haven't-
like the 70s.
5-6 years
Yeah,
ago.
exactly. When this game came out.
And you'd have
Yeah.
to send that through the mail.
Yeah,
like,
you-
you
you-
really
I
had to
was
mess
bored.
up.
You mean text? You mean telegraph?
Well, first what you'd have to do
Explicit
is
Morse
you'd have
code.
to hire a photographer. Then you'd have to say, hey, photographer, I have a certain part of my body I'd like you to photograph. Get some lights in here.
And then, oops, it accidentally ended up in this envelope after a long development
I was
process.
see, then they'd have to
No,
take it to
after-
a dark room.
No, it's after you hold that flash, that giant flash up that
Yeah,
you see
yeah,
that
with
like
the powder.
explodes with the powder.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, hold that pose for like 90 seconds to get full exposure on the.
If you have any idea how hard it's going to be for me to keep this pose for 90 seconds so that you can get full exposure.
I'm not that flexible.
I remember having positive feelings on Open Up, even though we determined it was not a game. But it was interesting. At least
It
they
was
were
interesting. I
interesting.
remember it being very funny for Match.com to think about
Yes.
them getting
Mhm.
together with a bunch of people who are there sort of nervous and under pressure, and then they run into one of those 3-star ones. It's like, hey, how do you feel about religion? Let's talk about anything else, guys.
This reminds me of if you've ever been on OkCupid. They've got like a million little questions you can answer that are like this. A lot of them are innocent, and a lot of them are like, how do you feel about an open marriage? You know, and like some people don't care about it.
Yeah.
Some people get real touchy about that answer, and some people are, and just it's not something you probably want to bring up.
Well,
But, like,
it may
it'll-
be...
But OkCupid uses them behind the scenes to like secretly build a pattern for
Yeah.
you and then match you up with other people so they don't have to see your answers for them to be able to match. And
Yeah.
it's a whole thing. But this reminds me of that because there's a lot of innocent
Except
questions
everyone
and then
sees
there's
your answers.
they can't. Yeah, you can
You
turn
say
them
them
off.
out loud.
Yeah, well, yeah, true.
Well, I mean, the program's not going to say them for you.
Yeah, OkCupid hides them, but yeah, and this
Yeah.
No,
everyone
I'm not
would see
talking
it.
about OkCupid. I'm talking about Open Up and our program.
Yeah,
Awkward.
Yeah, awkward.
But
awkward.
a fantastic... You're absolutely spot on with that, Mike. So now, with that fantastic analysis, which I think is spot on, would you take it to a party?
No, I wouldn't. I don't think there's enough there. It feels like a very stripped down version of all of those things because it doesn't have the fun banter of the Newlywed Game. It doesn't have all of the extra fun stuff and the bells and whistles of something like a Jackbox. And it is about the same as Open Up, but it feels like there's not enough reason. Like Open Up was, like, if you're pulling that out, you're doing it in order to get to know people.
Yes.
This one feels like it's a gamified version of that, and it just doesn't fit.
Yeah, and I think one of the things to note here, because once again, we were talking about at the beginning that the sort of the benchmark that all of these are looking at is Jackbox. And I think you allow yourself, or at least I allow myself, maybe nobody else does, but I allow myself to forget how brilliantly written Jackbox games are. Like, even the bad ones, even the ones that when we say, like, this just was the subpar game of this group, or I don't know if I'd ever play it again. But when you compare that to Awkward, you're like, oh no, it was still masterfully written. I just didn't connect with me. Whereas you're right with this, there's literally no writing. There's no, like, any of the magic that makes a Jackbox game work, even the bad ones work, is just completely missing here.
Yeah, they had question writers and no writers.
Yeah.
Was this game free on Steam?
No.
No, I believe this was, we were trying to figure it out because I know at some point I bought it on a Steam sale waiting for us to do an episode like this.
It is currently listed for $11.99.
Okay.
Oh.
So I probably paid $3 or $6 for it at
Yeah,
some
I would
point.
assume you would have paid not that much.
Yeah.
Another fundamental difference is that you all have to either crowd around the keyboard or pass around like a wireless mouse because you can't play it from your phone like you can Jackbox.
That was going to be I was going to add a condition to my would I take it to a party of if it had a phone interface, probably, just because this that we're doing is fun. And we, like with this group or a group similar to this, we kind of just had fun with the game, even though the game wasn't necessarily fun on its own.
Yeah.
But like our first playthrough was miserably funny. And then the second playthrough, because 4 out of the 5 of us knew what to expect, and it also threw us more of the weird dark curveballs.
Mm-hmm.
We had more fun with it. So I think it's not my favorite party game. It wouldn't be at the top of my list, but like if it was on my Steam, or if I found a sale where it was $3 or $4, I'd probably throw it at it.
Yeah.
But you're right. It is clunky. The writing's not as good. But if it was simple and it was just go to this website and it'll ask me a question and then it'll ask you to guess my answer, and there's none of this close your eyes because it just shows it on the 2 screens.
Yeah.
But then everyone else would have nothing to do. I mean, I guess you could do them all at once, like you would with like some of the Jackbox games where it pairs you up and you don't know who you're paired up against.
Yes.
So just it pairs everyone and everyone just gets 2 questions. That if they could do that, that would be at least easy to play. But because it's so hard to play, I wouldn't want to take it because everyone gather around the computer and we're all going to take turns on the mouse, and there's 6 of us, but only one person can be at the computer at a time, and the other 5, one of them has to look away and the other 4 can look, but they can't do anything.
Yeah, it's real strange that way because like I think we're playing with this the way most people play Jackbox games, which is you hook an HDMI cord up to your computer and you just kind of sit your computer somewhere and then play it up on the screen.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a pretty normal. Everywhere I go, that's kind of how folks do it.
Yeah, it's most common, like, because sometimes people have it on their Apple TV or the Roku or something.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you have it on Steam because that's where you get a lot of your games or something like that.
Yeah.
And so you're just
and they're also available on consoles too.
Yeah, so you're just using your TV as a monitor for whatever gaming device you have it on. So yeah, if it was something like that, I think I would do it. But because it's just the actual play experience, it seems like something that 6 years ago would have been fine because no one had phone games yet. But now that we have a million phone games, like Space Team has been out for a long time, and this is way less complicated to do than Space Team.
Oh, definitely.
Space Team broke phones when it first came out. This wouldn't break anything.
Oh, definitely. So then you would not take it to a party.
Yeah, I'm like 60-40. I wouldn't, probably just because of the interface, but like the content is fun enough. I wouldn't like rave about it. But like this discussion we've had has been fun for me.
Yeah.
And the like, oh my God, I can't believe they asked me if I would rather die in agony in front of my loved ones and watch them go through the pain or die alone and sad and in agony.
I mean, I can say that this is probably one I will bring places, but I completely understand. If it had a better interface, it would be a lot easier for me to say that.
Yeah. I'm really on the fence, but I'm just slightly against it because the interface is so clunky.
Yeah. Okay, Brian, how about you?
I just think it needed more development, right? Like, again, if the interface was better, as everybody's pretty much said it already, like the questions in general, they're fine. I mean, you can get, if you have a group of people you don't know, it would be more awkward, like the title.
Yeah, like the title.
If you have a group of people you know pretty well, it works fairly well. But yeah, having to have someone stand at a laptop and do it all and close your eyes, there's definitely better games that are similar on Jackbox that you have a much better interface that'll let everybody do it in wherever they are. You sprawled around a living room or whatever. You don't have to have one person keep getting up or have a hot laptop near them, right?
Yeah, or have to take like a wireless mouse and keep moving it all over the room to get it done.
Yeah, so I probably wouldn't take this to a party, but I would probably play it with a group of people that I knew if we had it there. But there are other games, including I think the one we're going to talk about next, that I would much rather play rather than this one.
Yeah, and I have to say this game, and especially this conversation about it, once again, has just reminded me how brilliant the writing is and how you see these and you're like, oh, well, you just need some trivia questions and a little bit of fun and you can make one of these. And then once you see it done poorly, you're like, oh, I forgot how hard those games must be for someone to make. And now I understand why when the credits roll at the end of like Trivia Murder Party 2, that they're, 40 seconds of credits because you needed 11 writers to be able to make that game work. To make that game look simple, it took a ton of people behind the scenes.
Yeah, and I just adding to that real quick, thinking about it right now, like my programmer brain, there's a whole bunch of ways I can think to make this just technically easier to interface with that are similar to Jackbox games, but like have everyone asks one question, everyone answers simultaneously, then it flips and everyone answers simultaneously, and then it plays through the answers. And you could have a multiplayer mode where everyone gets asked and then everyone votes individually on the answers, and so it's a group thing. It's kind of like a Quiplash or whatever,
And I think that may be the problem is this is just too similar to things Jackbox is already doing, and it's not executed nearly as well.
Yeah.
What I will say is this. If I'm out there and I'm listening like all of you are, and I don't own this game yet, I can't imagine I'm buying it to take to a party unless it's on one of those sales where it's like 90% off or 75% off, and you're like, well, for $3, we'll try it. For $3, you definitely should try it. For $1, you definitely should try it. For anywhere near like what this thing costs and the difficulty to actually get it out and get it in front of people, I have it. It's already on our Steam account. We'll probably play it at some other time with other people, and they'll probably complain about how terrible the interface is. I don't understand why I have to come over to the computer. Why do I have to do that? And that's what's going to be the problem with this. And I do think you're right. That's where it's going to live and die, is on that. So I'm going to say no, I would not take it to a party. Although with the caveat that if you're out there, you play a ton of this stuff, and you really want to know about it, and it's 90% off on a Steam sale, sure, I ain't mad at you if you decide to try it, but I wouldn't necessarily give it like a ringing endorsement. So now let's move on to our second of 3 games we're going to talk about that are an attempt to do this Jackbox thing. The second one is a game called Use Your Words.
Use your words, Bruce.
Use your words, Mike. Use your words.
Use your words, Bruce.
Hey, Brian's, pick one of you. Tell me about it.
All right. Well, since the other Brian did awkward,
I don't care. I don't
take
care.
this one.
But if the same Brian does both of them,
yeah,
whatever.
jump in and speak for me. That's fine. Go ahead.
All you Bryans look alike.
Man,
This episode
the
is
abuse.
This
Get no respect like
I know.
Rodney Dangerfield.
I know.
You gotta earn it,
none,
new Brian.
none at all.
No
No respect.
respect.
Bruce and I are both grabbing on
Yeah,
collars that we don't
collars.
have.
None at all.
no
Okay,
regard either.
so Use Your Words. This is a game that is much more in the Jackbox vein. So much that Jackbox has Jackbox.tv. This has like wordgame.lol.
Yeah,
I think it was wordgame.lol or wordsomething.lol.
Yeah, it very much is
So-
going to feel familiar to you if you've done Jackbox.
This is a game that I think can go up to 8 players. It was maybe 6, but it was
was either 6
definitely
or 8,
it definitely fit all 5.
Yeah.
And it was a word-based game done in I guess it was 7 total rounds. So there were 3 games in this. The first game was a game called Sub the Title. And basically, it would show you a clip of a foreign movie, a very short clip, where one actor in the clip says something, and then the other actor or actress says something back, but the subtitle's removed. So, for example, there was one where it looked like sort of a Bollywood production, where it was a man asking this woman, "Why did you send for me?" And the woman, the subtitle is erased, but she sings a response back to him.
Yes.
And your goal is to give a response that would get the most votes from the rest of your group.
Yes.
Now, thing to note here is this kind of similar to in Quiplash, I guess. That's one, or no, Fibbage. Fibbage is the one I'm thinking of, where they give you house answers.
Yeah, and Balderdash does it. A lot of games do the same thing where it's like, hey, here's a thing. And especially, I believe it is Balderdash, where here's the real definition of the word, and that's what the person can read, and then everybody provides their own answer.
Yep.
So one of the answers is like a stool pigeon that's in there just to try and throw you off.
Yep, so you'll get an answer from everyone in the group, and you'll get a fake answer, and you're supposed to pick the one that you think is the funniest. If your answer is picked by someone, you get 1,000 or 2,000 points, depending on the round, for your answer being picked. If you pick the house answer, you lose money, and that's how it goes. So that's the first round, called Sub the Title. The second round, I don't remember what it was called, but it was either fill in the headline of a newspaper with a funny picture or a normal picture, whatever you look at, or fill in the caption of a photo.
Yep.
So one of them that we had there was a man who clearly had tossed his son up in the air, and the son was floating in midair like he was just been thrown up. And so it was, okay, write a funny headline or that will get the most votes. So very similar construct. You do that, you get votes, get points if you're picked. The third one I think was called Fill in the Blank.
Yes.
So it was a sentence where they would just give you a sentence and say fill in the blank. So one that we had was about the Death Star. It was like the Death Star wouldn't have been as feared if it had gone by its original name, comma, blank.
Yep.
And so we had things like Bruce went with Chad.
Just Chad.
That was
The
the
Death
right
Star's
answer.
just name
Yeah.
was just
Chad.
Chad. But there were other things.
should never have changed his
you
name.
know, like Spooky Space Station of Doom or something. Doom. I think that was Rocky's answer.
Yeah.
You know, some of them were
Yeah.
good. And actually, the one cool thing about this is some of the answers that were the house answers actually were pretty good. They were noticeable if the group of people all went in a certain direction, which we definitely did on some of them.
Yeah, like if
Yeah.
you're using inside jokes that don't really make sense, obviously it's easy to pick out the generated answer. But if you're just trying to get a joke in, there were some of them that fooled us, and some of them were like, you know what, I think this is the computer generated answer, but I'm voting for it anyway because it deserves it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
there-
one thing to note, this game is rated M.
Yeah.
So it does point you like all those kind of like jokes where you're like, I guess that's what we're going to do. The game knows you're going to do it. The game set you up for it. And then every once in a while, the game will then hit its own joke out of the ballpark for you.
Yeah, on
Yeah.
a couple times it went real blue on our answers, and so did the game. And we were like, oh, well, I'll know it's not the game because the game isn't going to write something this dirty. And it sure did.
Oh, yeah, it did.
You know, like but it also tells you at one point, while you're waiting in between questions, it gives you little hints. And one of them was like, try to use inside jokes so that you can stand out and not be the house answer.
And there were a couple rounds where we had all five of us had such good answers that we're all in the same family that the
Oh,
five
yeah.
of us all each picked a different answer that were all one of ours, so we got a clean sweep around. But to finish talking about the game, those are the three games. You play them each twice. The first time, I think each point's worth 1,000.
Yeah.
And then it's worth 2,000.
Yeah.
And then the last round is a final round where you get 3 survey questions, kind of like maybe a la Family Feud-ish,
They
but
certainly
more
want you to
blue
think
than
it's
that.
Family Feud.
So
Yeah.
one is like an ineffective name for a pizza restaurant or something.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. You answer the 3, you end up getting 3 questions, you vote for them, most points wins. So all in all, it was a very Jackbox-like game.
Yeah, and
I think-
definitely.
And it had the same construct as Jackbox, and we played it twice. I think it was very fun both times. Having the fact that you've got like this movie clip and then go to a headline and then go to a blank was much better than if it was just like, here's 4 movie clips, or because it kind of like, to me, mixes Jackbox with like Seen It in a way. You know, you get
Yep.
kind of that stuff, but you do get that blue component that really throws you for a loop when the game is like, I know what game I'm playing. I know what you fools are going to do because you're just dirty people.
Yeah.
And it's
Mhm.
like, here's an answer that you'll think is someone else's. And it was just, I think overall, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And part of what I think was really brilliant here was, so I had seen the previews for this game before I picked it up, and the only thing I had seen was a picture of the title. So I thought that's what the whole game was. And I was like, you know what, either way, I just kind of want to see what that feels like. It's kind of like Mystery Science Theater, the home game. We'll see how that feels. And we played it, and it was brilliant, and we all had very similar answers. So it was this same clip over and over again with the same filthy answer, written just slightly differently every time.
Yeah, it
So
was.
it was amazing. So it was a build-up. It was like, filthy answer. Haha, that's funny. And everyone's like, uh-oh, did everybody write this? And then the next one, the same filthy answer,
You know
written
what it
slightly
was?
differently.
And this is one we can actually tell them because it's not filthy,
Okay.
but we all did the same thing anyway, or most of us did. It was the next Indiana Jones movie. It was Indiana Jones and all of us filled in the blank as something like The Search for More Money.
Yes.
Something like that.
The
Yeah.
grab
all
for
of us.
cash.
Yeah,
Yes.
the blatant cash grab,
Yeah.
you know.
And it was, seeing different answers is fun, and for some reason, the way this game is paced, seeing the same answer written slightly differently is also very entertaining. And I was really worried after seeing the title, and the first time was great, and I was like, oh my word, if this whole game is these clips over and over and over again and us answering them, I don't know how long it's going to take before I burn out on this. And that's the brilliance, is it's like, hey, are you afraid you're going to burn out on that thing? You're not going to now, because now we're moving on to headlines. And there's something about that just works out really, really well.
The headlines component is cool too because it's very Adliners like.
Yep.
You know, we had that one picture of the astronaut that his head was replaced by a stack of pancakes. Just a funny picture,
Yeah.
right? And again, the kid being tossed up in the air. There's so many ways you could go with it. There's just that hit the ad-liners button for me. The whole thing hit like a Cards Against Humanity type game, but I want to say done in a better way that I'm going to get less tired of, especially because of the interactiveness and like the video clips and the pictures.
Well, and it, unlike Cards Against Humanity, it doesn't write the joke for you. It gives you the setup and leaves you to figure out the punchline, whereas Cards Against Humanity is like, here's a bunch of punchlines. Figure out which one will make your friend laugh no matter what the question is.
And I would say in some cases, and that's why we all end up with similar answers,
Yeah.
it doesn't just lead the horse to water.
Yeah.
It leads the horse to water and then borderline dunks its head in the water.
Yeah, I mean, there are some where it's just an obvious answer, but it's not a multiple choice. Which do you think would be the funniest answer to this question? It's fill in the blank, and we all have similar minds because we're friends, so we come up with the same sort of dirty jokes.
And like I said, there was something fun about seeing the same answer written 4 different ways.
That was really entertaining. One thing we should point out, in case you don't want a game, because we've described this as dirty and filthy and blue, at the very beginning and repeatedly throughout the game, it will remind you that you can turn off the mature setting and just make it family-friendly answers.
Yeah,
and prompts, and it will do that. We didn't play that, but I assume it's just as fun.
I would imagine it would have to be.
There's no way we would play it that way.
I mean, we would still play it the same way.
It just makes me wonder if they would give you different setups that wouldn't lead you to those answers, or if it just blocks out any naughty answer you might put in.
Yeah, that's...
Because we didn't try it.
Well, there are definitely some setups that it wouldn't have given us. Because I can think of one right off the top of my head.
Oh, yeah, one of those survey questions at the end.
Yeah. There are a few I think it wouldn't have pointed us to. All of the movie clips would have been different.
But like the movie clip that Brian described was perfectly innocent, except we didn't let it be.
Yeah. No. And
it's a Bollywood movie. They're G-rated.
Yeah, but the line that led it to was...
Why did you send for me?
Why did you send for me?
And then she sings in his face.
Yeah.
Well, there was Bollywood.
There was another one where it was clearly a Russian clip.
Yes.
Where it was, how does the song go? I'm alone, and then the other people sing the rest of the song back to him. I mean, I could see where if you don't have the minds we have, or people maybe of our generation age would have, that you could take that not in a completely, forever alone sort of way. But I really would be curious if they have like 2 pools of clips and 2 pools of pictures, like that's like, this is the normal game, and then we can add these in for the mature setting. I really would like to know that.
So that was the one thing that we missed, and maybe next month we'll come back to this at the very beginning of the show, just so we'll kind of update you on that, but we forgot to do it for this one, because we were just having fun playing it, quite frankly. Mm-hmm. So, Rock, how'd you feel about these games?
I liked it quite a bit, because it keeps it interesting enough that you don't get bored of it, because in some of the Jackbox games, it's doing the same thing over and over and over. And yeah, it can be funny, but it just gets like, oh, when is this over? Mm-hmm. But this, the variety was fun enough that it kept me interested. And the video clip, I thought, was a new mechanic that I thought was very entertaining.
I also thought one of the things to note is sort of each game kind of sets up its own like individual premise. So the one that's the headline, everything's supposed to kind of be like a newsroom. There's another one that's supposed to be like a survey thing where it's got like reel-to-reel in the background that are supposed to be collecting all the information, and it's supposed to feel like that for fill in the blank, like a Scantron, like an old school Scantron. What I really like is the video one is supposed to be a drive-in movie theater.
Yes.
So much so that while you're working on your answers, they actually play like a let's all go to the lobby on the screen that is clearly like a public domain thing, because Coca-Cola is in it.
Yeah, it looks
dancing hot dogs.
Stop motion claymation type dancing hot dogs and popcorns and Cokes.
Yeah.
That was one thing I wanted to point out, was the aesthetic of it. It has this sort of 50s retro but mod thing going. Like you said, there's a reel-to-reel computer in the background on the survey one. The announcer's kind of a sort of cheesy 50s style game show voice. Similar to like your old You Don't Know Jack style of announcer. You can tell they were trying to be close without being direct.
Yeah, and I would say it may be even more amped up into that, hey, how are you doing? Welcome, partner. Like that kind of like trying,
Bruce.
like trying to be retro.
Yes.
And in the title one specifically, they had that like Tales from the Deep announcer. It's like the answer is going to be chosen by you. with
Yep.
the big
Yeah.
those big letters coming across the screen. So they really hit the aesthetic out of the park.
Yeah, no, I that was something I definitely want to point out. Is I loved the aesthetic. I liked that even though it was different in each game, it was very it still had a consistent feel. Like it all felt like they were games produced from the same era, even if they were different. Like they all had their own unique feel, but they also didn't feel like they were jumbled together, and it felt like they belonged together.
Yeah, it felt like the same hand had made all of them. Is sort of, like how I often say things like that. Like, clearly the same person or the same group was involved in forming the aesthetic of each of these sub-games and the whole thing as a total.
Yeah, like they each had their own distinct thing going, but they didn't subtract from the whole.
Yep.
They just felt like another well-made part.
The one thing I'd like to find out about this is how much replayability it would have. Basically, how many of these clips and all that do they have? How many images? Because I've noticed back when I was much younger playing CNET a lot, if you played it more than 4 or 5 times, you'd recycle the same clips over and over again. Quiplash in Jackbox can get to be that way. I'm curious how much content is actually in this game and whether it's you can play it 4 or 5 times and then you start recovering, or if it's a 40 or 50 play type thing.
And that is another thing that we're missing here, because we played it twice. We played it on mature settings both times.
And this is something I don't know. Like I own a copy of Jackbox, but I don't have people over to play it. So do they update the content, or is it just the game static when it comes out and it never gets updated with like more questions?
So, like, it depends on which game you're talking about. In most cases, if it's a You Don't Know Jack, the actual trivia game,
Yeah.
what they did to combat that was, especially in the first one, was that it was individual episodes. So once
Okay.
you got to episode, like, they were literally numbered, so you
Yeah.
knew when you were
I
running out
remember
of
that.
content, and you could buy more content.
Okay.
I don't know how they changed that on Binge Pipe. I think they just had a bunch of questions, and it would keep giving you different questions for a certain amount of time.
Mhm.
For the rest of them, I know there are updates because literally you see them on Steam when you're getting the update, but I
Yeah.
don't know how much of that is a content refresh and how much of it isn't. I don't think they guarantee these games to like play infinitely.
No, I'm sure they don't, and they want you to buy the new one at some point. But like, I don't know. Like, to me, it would make sense if occasionally they would just add a little bit, just to
Yeah.
extend the replayability, and then when the new version comes out, they probably stop doing it. But
Yeah,
if
it
like
makes sense.
every 6 months they throw 50 new questions in, that's a thing you can do on a Steam game. Like you
Yes.
can just update and add a little more content, but you don't have to. Steam allows them to do that, but I have no
Yes.
idea if they do.
No clue.
But
No
yeah,
clue.
that would be a good question. I guess the difference for me between this and Jackbox is this is a one game thing.
Yes.
Jackbox is 5 basically for every version, or at least all the recent versions
Yes.
have been 5 per. But because it's 3 semi-different mini games in a row, and then a 4th end game, the replayability of that one game seems higher in the moment. I don't know if down the line, like, because if I play Jackbox but I play 2 or 3 different games, I can play that for a while.
Yeah.
Several weekends for several months. If I play this for the same number of games every weekend, I don't know if that's going to get older faster, because although it's individual variety, you go through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
Like it's more varied than like Trivia Murder Party or Quiplash is, but it's less varied than Jackbox is.
Yeah, it's more varied than any one single game in Jackbox, but not as varied as the entirety of a Jackbox party pack.
Yeah, and I think they knew that. I think because this one has that same quality of design that like Jackbox does. Like somebody really knew what they were doing when they put this together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because they know that they only have the one game, that's why they added the variation into it. Because if you just could buy Quiplash and that's it would get old. As much as I like Quiplash, it would get old fast.
And originally they did put Quiplash out. It was just a thing you bought by itself.
Yeah, they did a couple of games that
Yeah.
you could just buy directly.
Yeah, Fibbage and Quiplash, I think, are
Yeah.
the 2 they did. Mike, how did you feel about this game?
I really liked it. I thought that the clip version was really sort of making the most of the medium
Yep.
in a way that even Jackbox hasn't done. I think that the aesthetic was really just knocked out of the park good. Putting it against the other game that we just mentioned, or really even the Jackbox games, you could see how much work they put into it
Oh, yeah.
and how much work it takes to make it go right.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what happens when you put the time in. And when you have talented people working on it and you decide that you're going to, make this thing, make it look good, make it all fit together and make it fun and make it more than just, hey, we're going to throw some questions at you, put your scores up, and then you're done. Yeah.
Definitely.
So, yeah, I thought that in design, it was really just leaps and bounds beyond the other one and beyond a lot of even the Jackbox sub-games. As far as content, I feel the same way as everyone else, that we haven't seen... I mean, we played it a couple of times, but we haven't seen all of it by a long shot, I hope. I don't know how much that is. I don't know how much replayability there is. I don't know how much updating there'll be, whether there'll be expansion packs, whatever. So it's a question of, how quickly you'll get tired of it, how much you can get out of this. But for what it is, it's really fantastic. And I think it does its job every bit as well as any Jackbox game, put out by the actual, the big boys of that business.
Oh, definitely. We were talking about this and I like this phrasing, which is, use your words is a one-trick pony, but it's one real good trick. Like, those Jackbox games have 5 games, they do 5 different things, and that's awesome. And this only has 1 game, but gosh darn it, it's better than almost any individual Jackbox game. Now, once again, I need to make this clear. It's not better than the Jackbox Party packs. But if you take a look,
more value than one of those packs.
No,
I would say it may be better in terms of quality than one of those packs.
Well, because I feel like every pack has like one home run game, and that this is, and I would say this beats most of the home run game. I don't know that I think that Use Your Words is better than You Don't Know Jack. I don't know that I think it is better than. Like, I forget which one's the one I like, Fibbage or Quiplash? Quiplash. I don't know that it's better than Quiplash. What I do know is it's better than 3 games on every single party pack. It is better than, though you give me the best party pack they made, whichever one you think it is, this is better than 3 games on that party pack, no doubt.
Yes.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's hard to say. I guess it values where it comes in and maybe replayability, but like, it goes head-to-head with any of the best Jackbox games I've seen, and probably anyone can name. And it may just come down to a subjective matter of opinion, but quality and production value-wise, it is up there with the best of Jackbox games.
Definitely.
And it outshines, I'd say, like you're about 2/3 of the Jackbox games by a long... Because most Jackbox party packs, there's 2 games that you're like, okay, that came with it, so I guess we'll try it, but... I don't want to play it a second time.
I think this individually could easily be top 5 if you compared it to any of the other Jackbox games. Maybe not. Maybe right around the top 5. Let's say if you put it in a Jackbox party pack.
Yeah, and I want to say this thing. I think it costs normally about $15, about half the price of a party pack, and I would say well worth it as far as value goes. I think it is absolutely worth the time to pick it up.
I mean, and it's Steam, so it goes on sale every 10 minutes, but at random, so...
And it is also on the Switch. That was actually where I first saw it. So if you have a Switch and you're like, I'm not going to do Steam, it is available there as well. So let's take a look. Would you take it to a party, Rocky?
Yes, I would, absolutely.
Mike?
Oh, goodness, yes. In fact, we've got a party coming up that I hope it will come out at.
Oh, it definitely... Spoilers, Mike. It definitely will. As a matter of fact, further spoilers... Anywhere where we would play Jackbox, I might try to force this on people.
Just to give them something
Just
different.
to give them something that isn't one of the Jackbox games. Brian?
Absolutely, and for the reason that you just said, because if you like Jackbox, this is different and fun and variety. But no, anyone who likes the Jackbox style of game, I would take this too.
Absolutely.
And even someone who hasn't tried that, I might be tempted to make them try this before a Jackbox, except I only personally own Jackbox.
I get it. And just as a note for those of you listening, the whole reason we switched the episodes and moved the non-Jackbox games to the main show was to show people this game. We feel like you could not know this existed, and we wanted to do everything we could to show you that this game is in the world.
To be fair, it's 50% this game. And 49% the one we haven't talked about.
We didn't know that when we made the decision.
We did not know that when we made the decision.
No.
That's true.
No, that's true. Yeah.
Once we found the third game, which we'll talk about, and I swear to you in just a second, then it just took it over the top, and we knew this was going to happen.
Just a second,
and
47
fairness,
minutes
originally, this episode was going to be all 30 Jackbox games.
That was a long time ago. It was going to be
that was a moonshot. That was a bad idea.
It was going to be a list of our top Jackbox games in order.
That's
so much.
there's 6 versions, 5 games per version.
Yeah.
this would be a 4-hour episode.
And if we ever do that list, if we ever get to whatever Patreon goal we're going to need to do that list, we are definitely including Use Your Words in it.
Well, the problem is, if we did that, we would spend 7 hours playing games on the TV, and that would be absurd.
That would be amazing.
Who could spend? Oh, we did that today.
We certainly did, but let's wrap this one up. Also, an additional Brian.
This game's an absolute home run. Like they killed it. I'm not gonna say any game is a perfect game, but it's as close to a perfect game in this style that I think you're going to get. And like I said, we talked about ranking Jackbox games. This, to me, based on someone who's played all of them as you guys have, probably has to be in my top 5. I mean, I can't think of 5 better games than this one was.
And I would say it does, and it's exactly what everybody else has been saying. It's so good that it's just going to come down. It's no longer an objective question. Yeah. It is just, how do you feel about it?
Well, and I think part of the problem is I'm a little jaded with, I love Jackbox, but I played Trivia Murder Party so many times. It's still fun.
Yeah.
But it's not as fun as it was when I first started playing it.
Yeah.
And this is novel. When the novelty wears off, it'll probably be same as Trivia Murder Party for me, or that kind, the one that's probably my favorite of the Jackbox games. But it'd be head to head with any of those once the novelty wears off after I've played it 20 times.
Yeah, I think for me, my favorite of all the Jackbox is probably flat out You Don't Know Jack. And this might be second. That's how impressed I am with what they've done with this.
This is getting up into, I think, You Don't Know Jack, Bidiots territory in terms of fun for me. Trivia Murder Party, that kind of thing, and Quiplash. I think those 4 plus this guy. I mean, you're going to have a lot of people having fun at the party you take this to.
No doubt. And I'm just going to add, so I've officially said, yes, I would definitely take this to a party. You should take it to parties. We put it on this episode so you'd hear about it. The only thing that makes me nervous, Rocky noted this, is that when you're looking at your controller on your phone, it says version 1.0.1. And then the year on everything is 2017.
Yeah, so
yeah,
I did poke around on the intertubes.
Yes.
They last posted on their Facebook last December. They last posted on their Twitter last month because I think it was on sale on Steam.
Yeah.
They did do an update recently because there was a glitch. So it was an update for the computer side, the Steam side, but the web client I think is still 1.0.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how much future attention this game is gonna get.
That's
because
sad.
their social presence is very light, we'll say, which makes me upset.
Yeah, I'm going to try and do everything I can to shake somebody out there that we can do here with the Party Gamecast, but I don't know if that's going to do a whole ton. But
just start tagging them on social media and be like, hey guys, we love your game.
Yep.
You should make more of this, please. Thanks.
I already followed the game on Twitter. I think I'm one of 100 and some followers.
Oh,
we have more followers than that.
Yeah, we got to do something about
this.
And we're
that is sad. If we have more followers.
So if you're out there and you follow us, follow these guys.
Partisans, mobilize,
please.
Yeah.
So now, this is probably the longest episode of the modern era, and it is not done yet because we are about to talk about the final game that we played.
But it'll be short. This is an easy game to cover quickly.
This is an incredibly easy game to cover quickly. So here's what I'm going to do, folks, is I'm going to tell you the name of the game, and then we're going to give you 10 seconds because spoiler alert, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we were looking for, I feel like I just need to tell you how we got here. We had these other 2 games, and we were like, well, we just want a third game. We're not going to do a live play, we don't think. So let's get a third game to talk about so that we have a third Jackbox-style game. And we looked all over Steam, and there's just nothing we could find that really seemed to fit with these 2 games that we talked about today.
I think there was one, but it was coming soon, and it was only available on mobile, I think.
Yeah.
So we were like, oh, well, I don't know. What could we possibly do? Who knows? And I was like, I know a game I'd at least like us to check out as a group, even if we don't cover it. And that game was I Love You, Colonel Sanders. So this is your warning. We're going to start talking about it now. If you don't want to hear about it, you don't want spoilers, you don't want to know anything about it, just go to wherever the end of the episode is and come 3 minutes in, and we'll probably close the show there. But we're about to talk about this for the rest of the time because I Love You, Colonel Sanders is a Japanese dating sim put out by Kentucky Fried Chicken. Take it all in.
Yeah, that's a sentence that you might need to process.
Yeah.
It is free on Steam because it is entirely a work of propaganda
Oh yeah.
from Kentucky Fried Chicken.
And it
Oh,
worked.
yes.
It totally worked on us.
Spoilers.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a
Well,
look
I'm
at the
hungry.
time we're in.
Aren't you?
Oh yeah,
Mi-
I want fried chicken.
McDonald's has a roll and move game from the 70s, and Wendy's has made a whole thing for D&D.
A
It's called an
module, yeah.
RPG mod. Yeah.
Sure.
If we could figure out a way to make you play that for this, we should.
Maybe that's the thing we should do. I'm not completely against it because
Patreon
it's so
goal.
ridiculous.
Patreon goal.
Yeah. And now KFC has put out like a real legit dating sim propaganda.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it is an abbreviated version, like because dating sims are meant to take forever.
Yeah.
But like it only took up 3.5 hours of our day to play this.
Now,
Yeah.
for 3.5 hours, we got to one of the major endings and a few of the death endings.
Yeah, we didn't know that you could die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I've never played a Japanese dating sim, but I've heard about them. And I know that there are failure endings,
Yeah.
and there are less optimal endings.
Yeah.
I did not know that it was usual to have death.
No.
But
Yeah.
KFC, death.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you can die, and we died once. Did the other failure, was that a death or was that a?
There were some that we figured would lead to death, so we didn't click
We
them.
did lose twice though.
Yeah.
After
Oh,
we-
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget what the second
like
loss was.
The
I
other
feel
one
like-
was, hey, you realize this is a dating sim,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. We
so-
were rude to someone.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
we got to tell.
Do
Give
this
us more
more than
backstory.
rude.
Yeah, Rocky,
Yes.
do me a
Yeah.
favor. So let's
Okay.
let's talk about first like a little bit of the aesthetics and then set the story up.
Okay. Well, it straight up looks like an anime. Just everything is over the top, ridiculous, exaggerated, with a lot of the traditional tropes you see, like someone beautiful walks in and cherry blossoms blow behind them. It's very self-aware.
Now, not someone beautiful, not just anyone beautiful.
That's just
Colonel
the
Sanders.
Colonel
Sanders.
Sanders. Every time he enters, cherry blossoms come on first,
Well, because
and then it announces him.
he is the most beautiful
Yes.
out of everyone in this game.
Uh-huh.
So, in this game, you and your best friend are about to go to cooking school. The cooking school has an abnormally long name that is hilarious, and I can't remember it because it's so stupid.
I'm trying because it's something like the
It's
cooking
like Cooking University.
for Culinary Academy.
Yeah,
I had it somewhere. Hold on.
I knew. We
As
had
soon
to
as you
eat
have it, let us know.
University of Cooking School : Academy for Learning.
There you go.
That sounds
Yes.
like something out of Zoolander.
It really does.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's a meta, tongue-in-cheek spoof on
Yes.
the genre.
This school is known for its 3-day long semesters. So take that in for a minute.
3 days.
3 days.
3 days.
Yeah, that is the length of your game. Spoiler.
Yeah,
Once
and that is
again-
that is the game telling you this isn't going to be long for a dating sim.
Yeah, this is again. It's a meta, tongue-in-cheek. Like
Yep.
dating sims take a freaking semester and that takes forever, but ours is 3 days long. So enjoy this short version.
Yep.
Yes. So you go to school and oh no, it's your rivals. They've gone here who look remarkably like ridiculous Team Rocket characters. Like one of them looks like a mashup between a James and like the guy from is it JoJo's Bizarre Adventure with the big
With the
hair
big
in the
bouffant
front? Yeah.
Yeah.
or the big pompadour.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the names of your rivals here?
Yes.
Sure. Sure.
So,
what might they
the rival woman is named Ashley, but it's spelled AESHLEIGH. And there is one clip in the scene where it says, you know her name's really Ashley. She just added extra letters. to be
And it's
annoying.
ASHLEY.
be? Then what's the other one? It's like
It's
Van
Van,
the Man
the
Man.
Man.
and Van the Man, who's incredibly jacked.
Yeah,
Like-
he wears a chef's coat bib
Yeah.
and has like the guns and the sides of his abs
Oh, yeah.
showing.
With ridiculous hair in the front that is star-shaped. Don't think about it too hard.
He's got like the tight white pants and the Hulk Hogan style belt.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And a cool guy leather jacket.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because that's how you know he's
Anyway.
bad.
Yeah.
So you see them, and you and your friend have a little interaction with them. They're jerks because, of course, they are. You go into the school, you meet some other students, and then your teacher walks in. And by walks in, I mean
Trots, probably.
trots in,
Yeah.
because your teacher is a corgi.
What would the corgi's name be?
Sprinkles.
But what should you call the corgi because it's a classroom
It
environment?
was Sparkles, wasn't it?
Oh,
No, it was
It's
Sprinkles.
Sprinkles.
It was Sprinkles.
But what should you address him as?
Was it
Professor Dog.
Professor
Dog.
Dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, take that in.
Don't call him Chef. That's his dad.
No.
Yeah, don't call it. Yeah. And, like, one of the things this game does amazingly is it breaks the fourth wall by knowing what you're saying at the screen.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Yeah,
God,
for-
does
yeah,
it?
For
he did
example,
like 4 or 5 times.
One
to
of the
us.
times was at the end, I think, that during... I'll let Rocky tell the story again, but the dog, like, sticks his tongue into something and, like, cuts it, and he drinks a whole bunch of milk, and we're all like, he's not a cat. Why would he drink milk? And the dog's next line is, yeah, I'm a dog who drinks milk. Basically, like, Big Whoop, want to fight about it? Kind of thing.
I just like milk. I know I'm a dog. Yeah, like because it's like a dating sim where you get 1 or 2 sentences and then you got to click to go to the next. And we were like quipping on a lot of these sentences as they happened, and 5 or 6 times, like you said, we would make a quip and then click next, and the line would have a response for the thing that all 5 of us had just said.
To the point where I was like, oh, they're going to think I played this before or something.
Like, even the Ashley joke, because the name Ashley
like,
is
is
so
that
ridiculously
Ashley?
long, you're like, is that really Ashley? And then they take the time to say, you know, her name's actually Ashley, like a normal spelling. She adds extra letters to feel better.
Yeah,
like,
I think that was the
Oh.
first time it did that. And we were
Yeah.
like, oh, it's doing that.
Yeah.
And it was just all these cute little meta tongue-in-cheek fourth wall breaks that were very entertaining, at least for us.
And then
Yeah.
additionally on top of that, it's propaganda for KFC.
Oh, yeah.
God.
it is.
And beautifully so. So I've talked about this before, like when we've gone on trips. There's something about like the world of Coke. Okay? So when you're corporate propaganda, but you've taken it to high art, there's something beautiful about that.
Or like the biggest McDonald's.
The biggest McDonald's, or the joke is like Laramie Cigarettes in The Simpsons does their Laramie
Yeah.
Cigarettes ride. Well, that ride exists. It's the world of chocolate in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
And it's the same deal. It's like, it's a wonderful world of chocolate. Like, things open up and there's dancers and lights and the smell of chocolate hits you. And there's something about when at that level, your propaganda there, where I'm not even mad anymore. You're just like, this is beautiful.
Because it knows
Although,
what
in
it is.
fairness,
Yeah.
if you go to Hershey, Pennsylvania, and you go on that ride, if you spend the entire day there, you will be sick of the smell of chocolate by the end of
Oh,
the day.
definitely.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But like,
But like it knows what it is and it embraces it wholeheartedly. And when that works, it's a beautiful thing. When it doesn't, you feel manipulated and angry.
and I mean, and it's even things like, well, we're going to have to figure out what the most efficient utensil is. And you're like, it's a spork. It's got to be a spork. And they're like, it's a spork. And you're like,
Of
way to
course
be
it
on brand,
is.
KFC.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you haven't figured this out, it is absolutely not a party game unless you're willing to sit around with all your friends and read
For
text
hours.
together.
For
For hours.
4
But
hours plural.
If you want to laugh and riff on it sort of MST3K style
Yes.
as you play it and collectively vote on, do we pick the obvious answer or do we see what happens if we go into the light?
Hey, y'all, yeah, remember when we died? Because
Yeah.
the chicken was
I
so
do.
heavenly that we chose to go towards
we,
the light.
We took a bite of chicken and
I
immediately
even
went
said,
into...
go towards the light, Carol Ann. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, spoilers. That's one of the ways you can actually die is
'cause
you
you
eat
lose
the
yourself.
first. Yeah, the first time you taste Colonel Sanders' chicken, you go into a trance and become one with the universe. And you can either like appreciate its beauty or appreciate Colonel Sanders' like genius for making you have this experience, or go towards the light.
And we figured, let's just see what the set of decisions are going to be if you go into the light. This has got to be ridiculous, of course, right?
Death.
No, it's you have been taken over, and then they're trying to wake you up, and they can't, and you're dead.
Yeah, it was so good you died because your body couldn't handle the deliciousness.
Brilliant propaganda.
Definitely.
Brilliant.
11 herbs and spices, y'all.
That comes up
11.
often.
So there's
will
more,
remember
there
that
is
number
more
by
to
the
the,
end
there
of
is
it.
more to the story that we should get to, though.
Well, of course, Colonel Sanders comes into the class, and he is the most beautiful person you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Because of course he is. You also get to choose a romantic interest for your best friend.
Yeah.
You can choose between a weird child who doesn't understand where he is or what's going on around him.
He is the Scrappy Doo of this adventure.
He's also apparently the son of like a very high-ranking donor to the school. Oh, I'm sorry.
Spoiler is
Well,
hell,
so
man.
his name
Oh,
is
I'm sorry.
his name is Pop,
Because he read
Because
his badge upside
His badge
down.
says Bob, but he read it upside down. He thinks a wedgie is a salad.
A salad.
And
yeah.
he thinks a swirly is an ice cream treat.
Yeah.
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 And the Team Rocket people just take advantage of his naivete.
Would you like a swirly? Sure, I'd love one. Cool,
With
come with
sprinkles.
me.
With sprinkles. That's
That's
me.
also a dog. And that's, yeah.
Yeah.
Or you could have her date a sentient deep fryer.
Pressure fryer, please.
Pressure
It's
fryer, yeah.
KFC.
'Cause
It's a
it's
pressure
birthday.
fryer.
Named
Yeah.
Clank.
He
Yeah.
is an anthropomorphic pressure fryer that has, it's just a square box with the little like twisty top for the pressure fryer, and they've taken a white shirt and just put it around this square box and buttoned it barely, and the arms are hanging, and there's a tie, and then he's got a little tiny chef's hat perched on the corner of the top of himself, and little eyes, and it is
Yeah.
adorable.
And for most of it, he just clinks and clanks and beeps and words. And at the very end, he
Yes.
starts speaking in English. And we're all like, wait, he speaks English now? And
Sure
sure
Again.
enough,
line.
the very next line, since when does Clank speak English?
And
It's
then-
so meta. It's great.
And then the next line after, slight spoilers, but as soon as he does, like, how does he speak English? How does he speak English? And then one of the other guys chimes in, it's the singularity. Oh no! And like grabs
Unplug
him and
him.
unplugs him and runs him out of the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, and oddly enough, it was Van the Man who saved
Yeah.
humanity from the singularity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Had a moment of humanity. Yeah.
The only
So,
good thing he did.
From what we can tell, you don't actually do any learning in this cooking academy.
No,
No,
all
you-
you do is compete.
You
have
started off with a pop quiz, and then you go to lunch, and then you have a cooking competition. And first you taste the fried chicken, and then the second day you compete, and then you have lunch, and then you compete, and then day 3 you compete again, and then you've graduated.
But
There
what about
was-
the Book of Spells
there
and
was-
the Spork Monster?
I was just talking about the school, man.
Well, and you did
Aw.
learn one thing in the school that you just don't pay attention. So at one point they do mention that
Yes.
fried chicken had something to do with the revolution in
It was
1776
the
or something.
first signer of the Declaration of Independence.
Yes.
Yes,
Was a chicken.
Was
Yeah.
a the
Was
chicken was the
definitely a
first signer
chicken.
of the Declaration of
Yes,
Independence.
it was not fried. It was just a chicken.
Yeah, but your character is not paying attention, so
Yes.
there's only and it's
Well, 'cause
part of
they're-
the story.
Distracted by the Colonel's beauty,
Yeah.
because who wouldn't be?
Worth pointing out,
That is-
just in case, there is no gender for your character.
Yes.
Make
So,
of that what you
enjoy.
whatever
it
you
does
want.
use they once in a while.
Yeah.
it is very neutral. So
It
you,
kinda-
whatever you want to be, that
it
is up to you.
somewhat hints that you're female, but
I
I
in
don't
certain
really know
ways.
that.
It
No, it
never does.
always
No.
points out that you are attracted to Colonel Sanders.
Yes.
I
But
guess
that's
that
all
is
it
true.
does.
And
It doesn't
there's-
tell you that you're male or female. It doesn't tell you that who else in the game you might be attracted to. You could be attracted potentially to every character in the game, but you know the game is called I Love You, Colonel Sanders, so you do realize your goal is to get with Colonel Sanders.
Yeah, and unlike a normal dating sim where literally everyone you meet you could possibly date and you have like ways to seek different people, it is I Love You, Colonel Sanders, and it's a short game. So
Yeah.
there's 5 characters, you can't fall in love with all of them.
There's
Yeah.
one goal. There's
Yeah,
one.
There's
obvious
one goal, and it's in the name.
Yeah.
Yes. So, I would like to point out that every time you have a cooking competition and there's a food made, it is always something you can buy at KFC. And it's always the most beautiful bowl of that thing in the world.
Oh, yeah.
With,
Oh, yeah.
like, sparkles and glowing bubbles and...
Action
You can
line.
tell exactly when this came out too, because spoilers for those who are listening. The final dish is the mac and cheese sadness bowl that
Yes.
they came out with,
Yep.
and it's like, oh, we combined the Colonel's 11 herbs and spices with mac and cheese, and now it's this glorious concoction. Whereas
It's
the
the
other
best thing
contestants
they've
are
ever
making like
seen.
uni with stuff, and they're making like things that are like tiny plates, like the
Tiny
tiniest
udon.
bowl of udon.
Yeah.
Or like perfect little sugar crystal sculptures.
Yep.
And then you're
Yeah.
like, you got chicken strips in my macaroni. You got your macaroni in my chicken
It's
strips.
the most beautiful thing I've
Oh
tasted
my
in all
God.
49 years of dog life.
Yeah.
Oh!
And then
Thanks,
2
Professor
people
Dog.
died from it.
No.
2 people
No,
also
no.
went to
Some-
the light and died from
Someone
it.
does die,
Yeah,
but from
spoilers.
something
Yes.
yeah. I think that'll probably always happen, but I don't know.
Probably, yeah.
I guess if we had chosen to cook that, it wouldn't.
So
Yeah.
you spend your time between battling in the kitchen and just talking and getting to know Colonel Sanders mostly.
Yeah.
There is a side plot where one night you're walking through the campus with Colonel Sanders, and a spork monster shows up, and you have to fight a spork monster.
He's like a
Which
giant
turns
blob.
into a fight game fantastically well.
Yeah, like a
You can choose attack, defend with a little blue box with white text that looks just
Yup.
like Final Fantasy.
Yeah, and it
was
starts playing
JRPG as
Yeah.
anything.
not quite Final
Your
Fantasy
attack
battle
is
music.
always cook with love.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. Your defense is trepidation.
Yeah.
And the monster looks like a lump of like dry mashed potatoes with sporks sticking out of it
Yes.
and gravy dripping out of its mouth.
Yeah.
You
and
pick
sporks for
defense in the
teeth.
game is like, you probably shouldn't be defending. You keep getting beat up. Why don't you attack some more?
That's
Yeah.
a choice you've made. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it Borko? Was that the first one's name? Borko?
Yeah.
Borko,
And then
Steve.
it was Steve. You
Yeah,
meet
then
Steve
Steve.
later. When you defeat Borko, he leaves, and you're like, "Hey, definitely don't come back tomorrow." And he's like, "I definitely won't do that."
And this is not us putting this in.
No, that actually
this is the conversation. We've decided we're not going to kill you because you can
Yeah.
kill him. And you're
Yeah.
like, well, no, we're not going to kill him. He's like, we've decided to spare your life, but you're not coming back anymore. And he's like, yeah, I'm totally not coming back anymore. And you're like, you're not coming back here tomorrow. And he's like, I'm definitely
Nope.
not coming back here tomorrow. And he leaves.
Yeah. He also drops a grimoire with like an angry demon gilded chicken on the cover.
Yeah, it's got glowing eyes and it's a golden chicken
Yes.
head.
So at some point you can choose to cast just really evil spells. We realized that would probably not have good consequences, so we did not cast any of those spells, but I bet they're hilarious.
Yeah, one thing to note is if you die or lose, it will just bring you back to the last major decision point, and then you have to go through all the dialogue again.
Yeah.
You don't have I guess you might have the option of saving, but we never did.
There was, because
Yeah.
there was a load button on it.
Yeah.
I think it just auto-saves.
Yeah, I think it just auto-saves. And it's not ever, because sometimes you'll be asked questions that clearly don't matter much. They just change your dialogue, but not your outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll just take you back to the last major decision point, and then...
Mhm.
So we could have, but we'd already died a couple times, and it was like we could explore all the deaths, but man, we would still be playing that game, and we stopped 2 hours ago.
Yeah, we had to finally just say, like, okay, we got to an ending. I can't believe we played this long. We've got to go start talking about it.
Yeah, and we got one of
Yeah.
the endings. There are multiple endings.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
So-
it is kind of late tonight that we've been
Yeah.
playing these games all day.
Yeah, it's almost midnight, and we started at 2.
Yeah.
Oof, yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
I think with that's probably a good wrap up on this. Here's what we're because we do the would you take it to a party. So like this is not really a party thing. Here's what I would say, and I don't even know that we can objectively answer this because we clearly did. Would you get a group of friends together and play this as a group activity? Rocky, you look like you already want to answer. So I'm going to go to you, Rocky.
Oh. No, because it just kind of brings everything to a screeching halt. Because of it's a lot of just story based and not a ton of choices happen that quickly. So it's not necessarily a party activity unless you want to commit yourselves to sitting on a couch for 3 hours staring at a screen, reading intently.
But who would want to do that?
Well, we weren't at a party. We were just hanging out. It's different.
We're the party gamecast.
We
Everything
bring the party.
We
Yeah,
are the
wherever we
party
are.
everywhere we go.
Well, we were
It's
having
in the
that
name.
kind of party where we were reading some text.
It was that kind of party,
Was that
Brian.
kind of party.
You should know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at that kind of party, sure. Any other party, probably not. But play this at any point. Oh my gosh, yes. Just wait until you see the Colonel's horse.
Oh yeah, the Colonel's horse is pretty
Yeah.
magnificent.
I think my favorite is the dream sequence with everybody flying by riding on the back of a fried chicken drumstick.
There's also something to be said for the woman, for Ashley from Team Rocket that faces you, is wearing thigh highs that are covered in chicken legs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mike, how about you? Is this a party you're going to try and put together? Because clearly you're not going to just... Like, I don't even know if it'd be fair to say, would you take this to a party? Would you try to construct this particular party?
Would you take a party to this?
Yeah, would you take a party? Thank you. Would you take a party to this?
I don't think I would take a party to this. I think this, like Rocky says, it sort of kills a party. It'll derail it into this is what we're doing now.
Yes.
And that should be sort of a destination because this is not a short thing. It's
No.
like if we were to bring a game to a party that lasted 3 to 4 hours.
Yes.
That's what you're doing that night. That's what you plan to do. That's it. And this is the same way. So I would say I would strongly recommend this to people, especially if you are a fan of anime or these Japanese dating games or anything like that. You'll get a huge kick out of it. or if you are like Bruce and you love corporate over-the-top ridiculousness, yes, you will get a kick out of it in that direction too. It does its jokes really well. It is a send-up of the dating game genre in sort of a similar way as, I don't know if any of you are anime fans, but there was an anime that came out many years ago called Dragon Half that was just a joke anime about animes. It was just very meta. If you watched a lot of anime back then, you got the jokes that it was just making fun of the entire genre the entire time. That's what this is for these dating sims. It's hilarious, and I recommend it to everyone, but I wouldn't recommend it as a group activity the way we did it, unless you're really with the right crowd and they're all on board.
Okay, Brian, how about you?
I'm kind of the same. This was a super fun crowd activity because we kind of MST3K'd it, and I would love to have that experience again. I'm not sure that I could since I've already had it, and I only can think of maybe 2 other people who I would want to do it with, and just us 3 doing it wouldn't be fun, which means I'd have to bring some of you.
Yeah.
But if I had another game that was this sort of thing and I knew it was, like Burger King says, you know what we're doing, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I would probably try to do this same sort of thing. But this was a super fun experience. If I could think of a way to share it with people that wouldn't just, I don't know how to share it with people because you kind of just had to be here. And if I'm inviting everyone to watch me replay this game, it's not going to be as fun for me. So I don't know how to answer it. This is an experience I wish people could have, but it's such a hard thing. Unless you have the kind of friends who are going to riff on this game lovingly as it happens, or at least not maybe loving, but riff on it in a not this is stupid and I hate it way, but in just this is a thing I'm enjoying, but it's so silly I have to laugh at it. That sort of way, because it is a send up of dating sims, but by someone who clearly loves the genre and recognizes all the silliness that is included in that genre and likes it anyway.
And also really loves Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Loves KFC and loves
clearly.
just like anime in general, but sort of that anime that you get from an anime weekly TV show where there's a cute anthropomorphic sidekick that just does wacky stuff and then leaves. You have 2 of those, and then there's the kid who whatever's up with him. And you have the recurring villains who'll just show up and try to ruin the day and almost succeed and then leave in a huff. I mean, they're straight up Team Rocket.
Oh, definitely.
They really are. But I mean, those kind of things that are more anime than dating sim. If you are familiar with anything that these tropes come from, you would probably get a kick out of this. Certainly try to play it by yourself if you like that sort of thing, because you could save it and come back. You don't necessarily have to sit there for 4 hours. But I can't answer if I would take it to a party because it's this experience, and I don't have this experience a second time because I don't think I'm capable of it because I've already had it.
Because you kind of see what this does.
Yeah, if I did with another group, I would be guiding the choices and be like, let's choose differently than I did last time, and then I'm just doing a slideshow.
Fair.
So I want to, I just don't know how.
Fair enough. Also an additional Brian.
So let me just say this game is done 100% brilliantly. This is fantastic. The meta-ness of this, it's like a Deadpool even type of meta.
Yep.
They know what you're going to say. They're going to make that joke. They're going to do all that stuff. I wouldn't take it to a party for the reasons that have been said. I probably wouldn't play it again, but I would sure as heck sit in a room with people that have not played it and just watch their choices. I would watch them go through this game. I think anybody who has a chance to play this should play it at least once. Just don't get brainwashed by the KFC corporate propaganda.
Because it's everywhere.
It's there. And this makes me think, man, I'd be really interested to see what would happen if Chick-fil-A made one of these now.
Oh, my word.
Maybe let's not go there.
Popeyes?
Yeah, I would
Yeah,
definitely
Popeyes.
watch the Popeyes.
Let's go with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, play it on your own. Play it with a group of friends you can riff to. Explore it a little more than maybe we did with some of the choices.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a party game. We know that. We didn't do this expecting it to be a party game.
Yeah.
So.
For me, I would say, I can't suggest it any stronger than I do, and I'm going to give you a specific space where I think you might be able to experience it in a similar way in which we did. Late night at a convention, where you put this on, you see something like MagFest, where stuff literally runs all night. This is the perfect 2 a.m. We're going to do 2 to 6 a.m. Come do a live play of I Love You, Colonel Sanders with the room, and have somebody that's like literally monitoring the room and taking votes, and that's how we're going to answer things, and the room votes together, and like something like that. I think this could be a lot of fun for the same reason that like bad movies are great if you watch them with people. I do think if you want to play this by yourself, it is also great alone, but if you want to have the group experience of doing it with a lot of people, I think something like a MagFest or something like that could be a great time where you just pull this out late at night and just do a big group experience with it. But yeah, no, it's not a party game. You're not taking this to a party. And it's a shame because it's great, and I think you should do it, but that's certainly not what this is for. But I think if you're at a convention that has those late night hours and is looking for like a late night bit of programming, and they'll let you do a 4-hour block, yeah, block it off and give this a try, because this is super duper entertaining and well worth both the $0 they charge for it and the and it was fine. It was advertising, and we gladly took pictures of their propaganda and told people how good KFC is. We've taken a half an hour of this show to talk about it. You win.
You definitely want to find our Twitter on November 23rd.
Yeah, because there's some amazing things that came out while we were actively doing this. So yeah, there you go. Thank you so much for listening to the longest episode of this we've ever made. Yeah, I've been your moderator, Bruce. Joining me on the show,
11 herbs and spices!
Failure pile in a sadness bowl.
Notice me, senpai.
Clank, beep, boop, whir, whiz.
and thank you for listening.